Okay, here I have an Akai tape deck, CS-M02. I believe these were made around 1980-81. Unfortunately, I'm missing the door on it. I thought it's got the nice fluorescent display, so it's worth getting it just for that. If nothing else, I could always probably rip them out and make a level meter or something out of them. Old wooden back on it, that's going a bit wonky. So I'm not sure this is just a faulty one, unknown condition, but it wasn't too expensive, so I thought I might as well grab it. About that price, could probably part it out or something, and like I say, steal the fluorescent meter out of it and use that for some sort of display or something. I've been meaning to pull one of those out of something and see if I can get it running. I wouldn't mind like an LED or fluorescent display on my speakers, since my current amp doesn't have one, just to give it a bit more of that sort of 80s feel to it. Back when we thought those things were cool. Never really did anything useful, but other than look kind of cool. Not like, well, besides for the recording level on the tape deck, you don't really care what the levels are most of the time normally. They are very handy for that. Don't think I've ever seen one of these decks before. Nothing particularly exciting in here. Must be a stereo record playback switch. Oh god, it's got a great big shaft and another pivoting shaft, and the grease doesn't seem to be the best on that either, but LA something chip there, 4170. I've got a Dolby NE545 and another Dolby NE545. Seems to have got some sort of Dolby off and on and filter, or maybe that's a different filter. Output headphone level, record level of course. Interesting green counter there. Our timer starts, so you can actually, I think Akai used to have a weird sort of timer unit for some of these things. I doubt it's actually got a timer built in, but maybe. And it does chrome and metal tapes, so not all the decks of this sort of era did that. Record mute, so I guess if you're using a microphone or something, it's got microphone sockets. Or maybe if you're recording across from dubbing something and you want to mute out a ad break or something, I don't know what you'd really use that for. Rather plasticky knobs there, and that's a bit corroded. But I guess the important thing is to have a look. I think these, when the door was on them, actually had something about some type of those heads with a special glass or whatever in them that are supposedly very hard to wear out. Looks like it might even have a light behind there, but that probably is just an orange piece of plastic. But at least you could light that one up if you wanted to. Mechanism's fairly plasticky. Is that part of the neck making that noise? Oh, it's just the neck's a bit rattly, I think. Not sure what that is. Something banging around in there. It's got another Matsushita, I think, motor. Here we go. 13th of October 80. So at least they put the date on some of these things. Big flat belt there, which is not the best. I'm a bit surprised that that actually... you can make it... Whoops, I've nearly slid it right off the capstan. I have slid it right off the capstan just by spinning it back and forwards with the motor on the pulley there, so that's definitely in need of replacement. No shock there. And a counter belt. I can see any other belts. I think there's only two belts, which probably, once you get the deck out, just take the back off. That should be very... Oh no, that's the counter belt there. So what does that one run? Oh, that's one of those... Is that one of those oddball old auto stop mechs or something? Oh good, it'll be interesting to have a look at one of those. I forget how they work, but I think that's something to do with auto stop. Or is it? I forget what that weird mechanism with a little cam type thing. It runs worm wheel into another gear, and then there's a weird cam device on there. That'll be very interesting to see. I can see a brake mechanism for the two reels. Hopefully there's no idlers or anything there playing up. couple of fuses, and one of the standard sort of power switches. I used to use those in Sony TVs, I think. Get rid of this cable tie. And I'll do the usual check the power cords, especially these figure 8 things. I don't trust these things after seeing a few of them damaged. There's a little bit of something there. I think it's just a bit of scrape on the plastic. Sometimes you scrape a little sort of burry bit up. But yeah, these are best not to be trusted, not to have damage. That one seems to be fine. So I guess we'll plug it in. See what it does. The motor's running, belt's fine around there. I'm sure that capsule won't be too hard to stop. Harder than it looks. Oops, I nearly flicked the belt off again. Oh yeah, we've got the meter lit up there. Fast forward. Oh, it's got a heap of torque. Tons of it, in fact. Oh, so mechanically it seems to be running. Plays there probably about right. Pinch rollers up, heads up. And that just almost unstoppable. It actually slips the clutch. It's that got that much torque, so that's amazing. So those also got a fairly good direct drive reel system here, because it looks like they've got gears on them. There's a big white gear. Yeah, that comes in. Wow, what a great system. Even though it's a very plasticky deck, got plastic instead of idlers and stuff, which is great to see. Not a fan of idlers at all, because they tend to wear out and be hard to get replacements for. Pause, I guess, works. That drops the pinch roller down when we hit pause. Stops the tape pulling through. Pinch roller doesn't look the greatest, very shiny. Probably gone a bit hard from the look of it, but yeah, it's probably not too bad actually. Not usually a good sign when they're that shiny though. So I think that's actually safe to put a tape into. Looking into the line out, something's definitely making a weird noise here. What on earth could that be? Almost sounds like it's got a coin or something loose in there. Something's got to be loose in there. I think I've got a screw in that case somewhere. I can't see it though. It's somewhere under the mech, I'd say, so there's probably something in there. Oh well, probably gonna have to pull it all to bits anyway. It's right under the buttons there somewhere, I think. Which we can't see anything. But as long as it doesn't cause me any grief at the moment, I'm not going to worry about that. Now, I've got an RCA lead. Oh yeah, it's on the oscilloscope. Line it out. What are we on? Stereo tuner. I think that went into the tuner. Oh, we haven't got any speakers. I thought there was a lack of sound. Usually hear something, hits or something coming out of the speakers. And that's because we've got the speakers disconnected. Actually a bit of hum on this one coming out. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to have an old amp that's a bit noisy, because at least you know when it's running. And is there any music on that tape? I don't think there is. So something's flicking a little bit there. But we're not seeing much action. Assuming there's something actually on that tape. It should be. Oh, now I've got a channel. Tape's making a little bit of a weird noise. Doesn't have much level. Oh, so it's the output as well as phone's level. Seem to be missing a channel. lot better with that filter off. Possibly a little bit slow. Not sounding real good. Now the first thing to check when you come across this situation is your record playback switch. Let's turn the power off to be safe here. I don't think I'm going to touch anything, but there are some live terminals in this thing, like most audio equipment. And what we'll do is give that record playback switch a clean. There's definitely a lubrication issue there somewhere because it's quite slow to return. It's got its own spring inside, but that probably ain't going to be the issue. It's going to be the big lever that comes across. Yeah, that's got plenty of return. Okay, that's really fighting me. So it's this lever here that, yeah, you can see it doesn't even, without that there, good, yeah, very slow. I think that's got its own, it does have a spring over here, but whether that really doesn't seem to do much. Oh, it does stretch, I think, right when it's pulled across. But easy enough to fix that, no doubt. We'll give that a going over. And we've still got one channel. Always worth a try. Now, it can be broken wires on the head. Still don't know what's rattling in there. I can't actually see our head. It must be this black wire here. I guess what we can do, of course, though I'm not sure what's in the circuitry around these, but I don't think it's anything too major. But of course the heads are just a winding of wire. So without even touching that, I can just go to whichever one's the ground terminal. Actually, I don't think, have I got them both hooked up here? One of them looks, I think one of them's broken, or is one of them going to ground? What on earth have they done here? Oh, maybe they're not actually, maybe there's no earth in that line because it's got the shield connected to the red. What is connected to earth then? There must be an erase head here. So I don't know, here we go. That's the erase head then, probably. They've used a three-way, a shielded cable, like a stereo one. Now, of course, there's the bias oscillator right next to it. Just to confuse me, when I saw red or pink and white, I assume that's our stereo leads, but they come over here. It's this blue and yellow wire by the look of it. And yeah, it's a shielded cable, just a mono one. And that's measuring 0.1. And that's measuring 0.1, so that almost suggests they're both connected up alright. And we've got this other brown, and that wire goes over there somewhere, so maybe it's further into the unit. Being an old Akai, you can't trust all these old transistors and stuff in these things. I guess another thing I could do, just as a quick way, if you didn't want to pull this deck to bits, is we can just swap the cables from side to side. Unfortunately they don't have a plug on them. Now which one, I better double check. I think it was the top part of the meter was running, which is the, it is labelled left. So it's at least showing some signs of some life. And just as a quick way of, these should come off easy because they're only on these pin things. Quick test. So the blue was on the back one, which is just as record playback head. Doesn't say which channel I can see. If we just swap these over, put the yellow on the back instead of the front, and get the wires to line up. Oh, without burning my hands while I'm doing it. Sometimes you just got to treat a bit. And that's the good thing about having stereo, is you can just swap things between channels or measure certain points on both channels. Big blob of soldering in there now. Even measure resistances and stuff. I mean, if you've got one of those curve tracer things, you can just compare the same points on each channel, even if it's an electronic fault in there somewhere, and should be able to find out where it looks different. Definitely need to know which channel's good then, I guess, but if you just find a point where they're different, you at least know you're in the right area. Okay. So we've got the same channel running, of course, but I've swapped the different head over, so that pretty much proves that both heads are working fine, which is what you'd expect if you're measuring them and the wires are intact. You've got some sort of resistance there because it's just a coil of wire. If both heads are in place, and assuming the head isn't completely out of alignment or something weird or covered in dirt, like really clogged up, then you pretty well be sure that the head part is working fine. So I've actually got an electronic fault in this one. 90% or more of the time, probably 99% of the time really, it's very rare to get electronic faults in tape decks. It'll usually be that record playback switch has just got dirty contacts. Still not impossible. There is some fault with the contacts in this one. That'd be a real pain because you'd never get another one the same as that in a hurry. But always the mechanical part is the first thing to be suspicious of, because it's always the most unreliable. Anything with contacts and stuff, moving parts, etc., always the bit that plays up. Either something breaks or wears or gets dirty, you name it. Something that's soldered in electronic parts don't normally do. But in this case I think we might have a case of something faulty. Now it could be anywhere in this chain before the meters basically, so the meters look to be hooked up there, right and left. So I assume there's a chain of various transistors and stuff. We can probably check something on these pots. Then we've got Dolby chips, so I think they fail actually, those Dolby chips. Being an NE type chip, they're not going to be the world's most reliable thing necessarily. So we can poke around there a bit. Could be the power's been lost to one of those chips or some part of the circuit. Like I say, very reliable. I can't remember the last time I did a tape deck that actually had a faulty channel in it. That wasn't something to do with the head. So this could be an interesting little job to do. Actually, it'd be always nice to do a little bit of fault finding occasionally rather than just the usual mechanical problems and obvious failed caps and stuff, blown transistors and the like. Finally, I'm starting to see a couple of actual electronic faults, so I'd say that little shield there is going to be a ground. Yeah, power. First thing, I'm just going to press on those wipers of those pots if I can find the other one. And I don't see anything, of course. They could just be some sort of DC setting or something. But the oscilloscope's probably set to some ridiculously high input attenuation. And we've got a signal on both of those by the look of it. Get rid of dual channel. Not a problem there. So we've got both. I just go to the wiper of the trim pot because it's just an easy place. I mean, you can get on the other pins, but one of them is probably ground or something. And we're back. Pays to play lots of loud music when you're doing this sort of thing so you don't get any dead patches or the like. Now, I guess, well, obviously at our meters we're going to be, well, we're not getting out the audio, so I don't think there's any problem with the meter. You can never be sure the meter's not faulty or something. Yep, it's definitely dead on the, I assume that's right, yep. And we could pick like random capacitors here. They're bound to have a signal on them if there's a signal. Nothing there. And nothing on that little blue one, which is, I assume, that one. And doesn't look like they're going to have a signal on those. Oh, wait up. Did I just see something? That's one reason I'm going to have the volume up a bit. That doesn't seem to be a signal. Now I don't know which channel is right and left here, do I? Back this far. It's a 1K resistor or something there. Oh yeah, massive amount of audio on that. So that's been amplified up a lot. 10K is this one here. That one doesn't seem to have anything. So this must be the good channel on this side. That's a heap more, when I can connect to it, heap more audio than I had before. These crow probes are annoying. Now, what is that, a volt? No, half a volt maybe. Not even quite that much. That's about a quarter of a volt on R17 there. Nothing on the other side. So there's a lesson. Get it on the right side. Other channel, dead as. Okay, so we're back. Maybe, I guess I should look for a circuit, but this thing would be handy. There's another 10K there. One of these caps or something, surely. There's a little bit of signal there on that 100K. Surely if some of these caps are coupling caps. I think in an audio circuit you'd guarantee to find there's audio on one side of that one and the other side. So that's this 8.047 C11. Which one is the equivalent on the other channel? One of these C13 or something? Oh, actually they have that label on the same each side. Even though I know this channel's good. Oh, they called them C11 on each side. And C13. Oh, they have. Now that's a nice design. Calling all the parts the same numbers on each channel makes this job a lot easier. Where's that one? It's a 1K. Oh, there it is, maybe. Got a diode here for some reason. The signal just vanishes around this chip. So where's it going? What's this thing? Oh, it's some mic jacks. They're probably hooked into the line inputs. Which channel's the good one? This one. Signal's just vanished. So an awful lot of DC circuitry in this thing, it seems. So it's somewhere around this switch or Dolby chip maybe. Let's have a look at the good channel. Would help. Oop. Well, if Dolby's switched out, it may not have any signal on the chip anyway. Oh, that's got it on this second pin. Pin 2, I believe that is. They're mounted opposite ways around just to be annoying. Yeah, that's got it there. Then a heap comes out of pin 3. And we got nothing. It's enough to make me already think a dead Dolby chip, which would not be surprising. Then pin 5, 6, heap on 7, nothing on 8. We got nothing on 3. No, we do have some on 5, 6. Not as loud though. So it's definitely around this Dolby chip somewhere. So it's either one of these electrodes or quite likely the Dolby chip itself. Does the bottom come off this thing? It doesn't. It's got a lot of stuff screwed to it, so I'd say no. So I think I'm going to have to take the board off the bottom. I want to take this front off and see what's rattling around in there anyway, if it is something that shouldn't be rattling around, which it sounds like. And we'll have to take this board out. The easiest thing may even be just to swap those Dolby chips over and see if the fault changes sides. Pretty sure I've had those NE chips what do they were, 564s or whatever. Pretty sure I've had those play up before now and lose a channel in a tape deck. Ooh, there's more stuff falling off by the sound. It looks like the record switch has to come off, or record level switch. And pots, I mean, knobs. Ooh, got a bit of a messed up spring here. I don't know if that's to do with what's falling inside. Not the best. I forgot to take the tape out. That was part of my problem. Oh, there was a light, or is a light behind there. Look, there's one of the things. Oh, so it's just a little, I think that was sitting on top there. Semicircular thing. Ooh, yuck, what is under there? Some sort of brown. It was one of those. So someone's maybe had this apart. That might have been the other bit. Oh, still got some big lumps of black muck coming out of there. God knows what that was. At least it isn't rat poop, I don't think. That's what I thought it was for a minute. Ah, here's another one of those little... So I don't know if they've just come off when I've done that. It stopped rattling, so someone must have had it apart, and... I'm not sure if they came off the top of the panel or what, but one of them was loose in there before. Now, so I'm going to undo that socket, pull the knobs. That doesn't want to come off. There's screws holding the switches to the front panel, of course. Ooh, got to be so careful with those things. That knob's going to have to go, I think. Sockets, that's... it just doesn't stop. Now that's for the mech. Mech's going to have to come out anyway. And then we, I assume, take the back off. We'll probably help the board slide out. It's got a line DIN switch there, which I guess makes sense if you've got both connectors, but only can use one of them. I had a feeling they just normally wire them in parallel though, but maybe that's actually a handy feature so you could have two different sources plugged in and switch them. Not that it's very easily located, or handily located. It's actually an NEC tube display there with a couple of Hitachi chips running it. Looks like we're going to have to take that off as well because it's kind of hard wired in. Got to be careful of these switches on the front too if I'm pushing them down on the bench or anything, because they will break off easily, a lot of those things. That just makes life harder if you're going to fix one of those as well through your own incompetence. But it's very easy to miss things like that when you're focused on what you're trying to do. There's another screw there. And you tend to get distracted from other things that you should be looking after. Now I've got a counter. So that should be the worst of the board besides the pots and the knobs. I've got all the screws, I think I have. But we've got to undo these sockets and stuff. Output level control. Interesting old little fluoro tube there, bit of dust on it. Much like a clock display out of a fluorescent clock, about the same size and general envelope on it, but of course they've changed the insides to a level meter. Never saw an awful lot of these around in the day, the fluoro display decks, certainly not for repair anyway. A lot of people just bought, I think they were cheaper to buy with the dual VUs in them. Just analog meters back then. And these were often, they made, I think even this one, these Akais, you might have been able to get both options. I think the TIAC tape player my dad bought was similar. The circuit that came with it showed both a vacuum fluorescent display and twin analog VU meters, which was the one we got. Some ways I like the normal meters more anyway, but didn't make a lot of difference as long as you could see what level you're recording. So do I just swap these chips over? I guess the other thing would be to just check some of the caps. I doubt the caps are faulty though. My bet would be just going on experience to change the chips over and then worry about it if it doesn't fix it. At least we've eliminated them out of it, since they are a large part of the circuit. And they're really not that hard to unsolder, a couple of pins at a time. Don't want bits of solder getting in here, that probably needs a clean out again. Like all soldering or desoldering tools. Take any solder out of there. That's one done, or close to done. Often there's a couple of pins still hanging on slightly. These seem to be pretty well spaced in the middle of the holes. Sometimes they will press outwards or inwards, usually outwards, and touch against the copper and don't want to come out. I guess as far as putting it back together, I only need to solder the chip in to the one of them, to the channel that was previously faulty, because if the other chip is faulty, there's not much point soldering it back in to prove that it's faulty into the good channel, because that'd be kind of silly. These used to be quite a common chip in tape decks, but I don't know whether you can still get them or not. There's probably a way to bypass it, but like I say, if it's not in Dolby mode, you don't know if it's even doing anything, but I think they were in circuit regardless. Give them a quick prise up with a little screwdriver just to make sure you've got everything unsoldered. And I think they're all loose. It's coming out on a funny angle. I don't know where my chip puller is. That's it. So that was facing with pin 1. Oh yeah, they've marked it there. I'll chuck that on the front panel. I don't think they're static sensitive, particularly these ones, but won't hurt to sit with all the pins on a metal surface anyway. So I'm going to flip that around the other way. I guess one reason to put the other chip in there is in case it was a dry solder joint or something, but you can normally tell if you've found a dry solder joint while you're sucking the solder off these things. I've got a short there, maybe. Just level the solder on, just for the visual reasons of trying to keep your eye on it as you do it. I've really got to do. What on earth is that switch floating around? I've got to put that back in place. And we'll just temporarily hold that pot right over that piece, just so it can't fall out and short on anything. I don't think we need to screw the board down to earth it. I'll just put that switch back in. I think it's something to do with the record mode or something. Still, I think, was that screw? I believe that's the right one. Mute, well, I guess the mute switch could have been another thing to check. Oh, that's just a record muting. Never know, that could switch something. Never trust the switches in these things. Oh yeah, the light is running. I didn't even take much notice, but the light for the deck is a worker. Now, can I run a tape in this should have ejected that, shouldn't I? Because it doesn't want to come apart now. What bit do I press here? Is it that thing? No, it's that thing. There goes the tape. Now, which button is play? That one, I think. Ooh, look at that. I think I've unplugged the audio, haven't I? So there you go. That swap default. Ooh, what am I pressing that on? Yeah, coming out the other speaker now. Well, we know what the fault is in that now. Yeah, I really wouldn't mind. They look quite good. The way they light up outside the case. I really wouldn't mind pinching them out of this. Yeah, I probably should have done a bit better fault finding, but that was enough for me to convince me that that chip was faulty. I did enough measurements with the oscilloscope to know it's in that area. Ideally you would have got the circuit and double checked it all the way through component by component. But yeah, that's how you made money out of actually doing this for a living, was knowing enough to get what needed done. So I'm going to have to get a new chip for it, I think, unless I can find a good one in another old machine, which is not looking too promising. But at least I know what's faulty in that. What was that, the power switch or something? I think I might just throw all the bits in a bag for now and worry about that another day. I might put some of these bits back together, I guess, just to make life easier. So the big knob, big nut, that one intermediate one, I think. That's it. No, is that going on or not? Yeah, it is. Front panel might as well go back on, I guess. Relatively into position. And a couple of screws to hold that, I guess. And the back cover, I might as well on top cover. And then we're going to throw a bag of parts inside. All these leftover knobs and stuff. Two of those, yeah, that was all I took off. Two of those, that push switch. There should be a knob somewhere. Oh, it's in there. Plus the other knob. Don't want to lose anything. Power cord goes through the hole, of course, just to be a bit annoying and waste more time. I'll put that back on. Yeah, it would have been nice if I could have just bypassed things and got it going, but not going to happen. I suspected there'd be some sort of amplification in the Dolby chips, and unfortunately there is. But yeah, I suspect the motor in this thing might need replacing. Certainly not sounding real good. It seems to be a common issue with these modern... Ugh, there's a lump of that black stuff that came out of it. God knows what that was. I would hate to think. And I'll just keep a couple of cover screws should be enough. Did I? I didn't put one in the... I was going to save one to put in the bottom of the one of these screws will probably do, even though they were originally on the back, just to hold that panel on a bit better, so you don't pick it up and the front panel comes half off, potentially damaging it. As it's got one screw underneath, you should be right. And I think 2 screws will probably do for that. Everything else in the bag that you seal up, and that's normally what you do when you're ordering parts for things. Just put enough of it together that it can't be lost and it can't be damaged. And then when you get back onto it whenever the parts arrive, you don't have to disassemble everything, but it's not a great big mess. You can go and put this on a shelf where you keep your stuff waiting parts and stuff, and it's perfectly safe to leave it like that for years if you have to. No chance of losing any bits or damaging anything. But that gets that one out of the way. Okay, back on this Akai. What is it? CS-M02, and I have an NE555B brand new IC for it. So hopefully should be able to get that other channel going. And I might just use this thing as a VU meter, I think. Just hook it into the line out or tape record out of my amplifier, and I might have to come up with something to cover up that where the door is missing on it, and I think I'll just sit it there as it is. I was actually thinking of getting rid of the actual cassette player altogether and just having the VU meters, but I think in reality I'll just leave it as a tape deck, would make more sense. So you've got a bit of an old retro looking tape deck there. And it's all intact for future use or something, for someone to use one day maybe. I'm never going to use it as a tape deck, I don't think, but it would be interesting to have a quick listen to it. What did I do? That's it, so I've got the board loose. Easy. Now I've got to remember which chip is the good one now. I think that was originally the faulty one. I guess I should have gone back and had a quick look at the video. I think this one was originally faulty. No, originally good. That one was faulty. You think I would have marked the thing, wouldn't you? Yeah, it's not that big a deal to change a 14 pin or 16 pin IC over. So I'll pull this front one out. I guess I could power it up and see. Even then I don't know which channel's which anyway. But these are easy enough to suck out a couple of pins at a time. Even easier when you've just had the thing out before, so it's got nice fresh solder on it. I did find my IC extraction tool somewhere. So I'll get that in and should make it a bit easier to get off the board. So the pin 1 is marked anyway, is facing towards the deck. I even found my IC insertion tool somewhere, I think. No, I don't know where the good one went. Where's it? On the bench here somewhere. There's a better quality metal one, but I've got a plastic one. Did this go a certain way to pin 1? Not sure, as long as you remember where it is, I guess. But these, I don't think it matters, these are only a linear chip, but these are good for grabbing them, keeping all the pins statically shorted together. Conductive plastic, and it brings the pins together so they can fit on the chip, and then you just press that in and bingo, nice and easy. And hopefully we get 2 channels at the end of this, but if not I'll just have to put that other chip back in the other channel. we'll get to hear what this deck actually sounds like. And there was something about the auto stop mech or something I was going to look at. It had a weird little mechanism in it. So we'll see what happens. I'll put that old chip on on the old foam so we don't accidentally bend all the pins on it. Very easy to accidentally squash them. So let's see. I'll have to get the CD player going. Plug that into the line in. That's line out. Unless they've labelled it on the board. Just be careful not to short that switch onto the chassis anywhere. And I think we're going to get it into record mode, don't we? Can I just press that switch? Oh, I've got a tape in there. Nothing happening at all. Oh, we've got to get to the... That's the output phone level. Oh, actually, it is going... Ah, what are you doing? If I hit record... So it must hit another switch somewhere, but I've still only got one channel. And just a little flickering on the other one. Oh, that's the record level. Don't tell me I've swapped the wrong chip. It'll be typical. I think I might have. Yeah, the input level's working fine. Oh yeah, that is pressing the record switch by the look of it, is it? Oh yeah, that's right, I've got to fix that lever that doesn't slide very well. Well, it looks like I might have swapped the wrong one. I couldn't remember if I was poking around that one, but I thought whatever channel was faulty, I swapped it over into it. But of course, I can't remember, it's been a month or more probably. But I had to order some more parts, so I chucked one of these on. Could have got about 10 of them from the same price, or 5 or something from China, but on eBay, but I thought it's probably better not to bother risking it with some of the fake chips and stuff getting around. It's pretty unlikely anyone in China ever manufactured anything with one of these chips in it, since they were pretty much only used in the 80s and probably the early 80s at that. So it makes me a little suspicious, maybe for no reason, but put that one on that side, let's put that one back in there, and fingers crossed we get a result. Well, I know definitely the other channel was good because I swapped the chip over from one channel to the other. Yeah, maybe it was originally on that other channel. I remember I came back and had a look at this. I'll have to use my IC insertion tool because it doesn't seem to want to go in. Oh, is that gonna? It's gonna hit on the components. Great. But I thought I'd see if I could actually bypass the chip and just prove what part of it was faulty. Of course, it is not just a Dolby chip, but a preamp. Quite a bit of amplification of level in there as well. Not surprisingly, it'd be unlikely they would just do the Dolby processing and nothing else. So I couldn't just bypass the thing because, you know, frankly, I don't care whether it has Dolby or not. I never liked this stuff anyway. It seems to take out too much high frequency for my liking. Something you're already lacking in a tape deck, even if it does get rid of a bit of the hiss at the same time. But I was never a fan of... had many decks with Dolby, but I don't think I ever used it. Well, it was on just about everything back in the 80s. Okay, Okay, let's try again. And see if we can get 2 channels up. Where's our record tab? What? I hate it when I put the stop eject button on the wrong end, or what I call the wrong end. Oh, you're kidding me, it's still only 1 channel. That can't be possible. So we've got the top one running, and the other one doesn't run at all. Okay, that's annoying. Even though I swapped the chip from channel to channel, and it fixed it originally. So I don't think there's anything else I could be missing, unless our new chip decides not to work. Oh, now did I disconnect anything else? Is the next question, I guess. I didn't do anything silly. Let me think. Did I unsolder something or do something silly? Because it wouldn't be the first time I've done something like that messing around. I wouldn't have thought so. I'm normally good at soldering everything back, so I didn't short something out here. Really annoying if I have to swap the chip. Well, hang on. That must be the channel that's working, because we've swapped the other chip. One of them was definitely faulty. So I think the new one must be a goer, because it wouldn't make any sense otherwise. Well, I guess all I can do so far is I'll disconnect the chip completely from that other channel. Which one was it? The one that's got the second hand chip, which is the back one here. I didn't disconnect anything. I haven't adjusted the playback level. That is the right one now. So unless I just happen to have put a short across a pin or something, just coincidentally on 2 chips, or I did change the wrong one and then put the new one in with some issue. Be my luck, the other one's probably died. But yeah, fairly certain I didn't. I only messed with the heads originally, I think, and that was it, just to prove it wasn't an issue with the heads, which wasn't even really necessary to do, but it is a handy little trick sometimes. It's worth remembering. Come on, that one does not want to come free. These pins is clinging on here, so oh yeah, there's one there. But you can guarantee if you do it in front of a camera, something will go wrong every time. Let's remove that chip as well. Let's keep that one on top. That should be the good one, I think. I'm not sure if I know. Okay, it's not touching anything. Can't find that lever now. Yeah. So that's not working. Oh god, I wish I knew where the stop eject on this thing was. Chord playback switch hasn't sat in right, because it doesn't like sliding back. Oh dear. Oh yeah, there we go. I was going to say now we've got no channels, but no, it's still the top one running. So we know a new chip is a goer. But for some reason the other son of a gun has decided not to work. So now I'm up sort of the creek without a paddle here because I don't know what is going on. Each gun board. It's the only option really now is to put the new one in the other channel. Oh, this is going to be annoying. Prove that the other channel is working, and then I'll probably put the other chip back in and it'll work fine anyway. But at least we know it's not the new one, which is what I would expect. It shouldn't be faulty. Other than you could put it in the wrong way or something, but I did check before I put it in. I can't see a single unsoldered joint or anything. It's going to go around the other way. So that's a bit confusing as to why that won't work. Now if the fault hadn't swapped sides last time, you'd think, oh, this is where I've stuffed up and haven't diagnosed it correctly. That's why I often just swap the chip just to prove beyond any doubt, even though I'm 95% sure the chip's faulty, because I know these things do play up. Get on there. Okay, let's try it again. If this channel doesn't work, then something weird's going on. Get that switch back on there. That did take a second to come on last time. Oh my god, we don't have the other channel. Oh, we don't have any channel because I unplugged it. Phew, that's a relief. That's going to be the last one. Oh no, you're kidding me. We're getting a small flickering, but not a proper... That's what the other one was doing last time. Dolby off. You can't be serious. So that channel has a fault in it. Or I've disconnected something, or something... A wire's dropped off. Unbelievable. Ah, that's annoying. That's not a switch on the back, is it? Oh, you're kidding me. That was actually flicking up then for a second. Just moving that makes it flick up. Ah. You son of a gun. You wouldn't read about it. And now it's running. We'll let the other channel now going. It wasn't coming up before. If I flick on that switch, yeah, turn it off and on, nothing. Oh, what are the chances of an intermittent as well? Unless one of those chips was never faulty, but I doubt it. But look at that, you son of a gun. I'm going to stop filming these things because every time I do, something else decides to play up. So that switch is dicky. Probably just needs a squirt of contact cleaner. That's what you get playing around with this old stuff. I'll just check the soldering on it as well. Yes, it's pretty solidly soldered. Great big contacts on the back there. Probably should check them just to make sure, but they're solid as. Amazing. So now I almost feel like I have to try both switches, both ICs, to make sure they definitely were faulty and it didn't just... But they did change sides, so that is unlikely to be the case, but who knows, you wouldn't have the other channel go out as well. But what are the chances of that playing up as well? It's exactly the sort of thing would happen. You fix a thing and send it back to the customer, and of course the switch would play up and they're like, it's exactly the same as before, but of course it wasn't. But you still got to deal with it because it looks like it is. So we might just need some contact cleaner in that little switch on the back. What is it? Line and Or is it DIN and... It is your line and DIN connector. Of all the rotten little scoundrel things. I was actually thinking it was weird that they didn't just wire them in parallel, but I guess the advantage of having them switchable is you could actually hook two different sources up. Even though it would be inconvenient to switch them, at least, you know, maybe for something you didn't do very often. Save you having to plug something across or whatever. Well, that's very annoying. Let's just hope this is the good chip. Because it'll be the icing on the cake to have to swap that as well again. At least we know this top channel was stable. What was the top VU? But yeah, normally you're not messing around this often. Taken boards in and out this many times. And I haven't got either of them running. Oh, I don't know if I turn that down. I bet the CD's stopped now, it seems to be going. Oh, I'm probably on DIN for both, am I? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This thing goes from bad to worse. That's CD in. Which connection is DIN? That's line. Okay, this is getting a bit crazy. So maybe that is a faulty chip and... Well, the other one's not flicking at all. What if I... Has this pressed the... hasn't pressed the damn play record switch, has it? I had it, I made sure I got it in place, but the board's popped up anyway. That was line, I think. Now we've got just the bottom channel. Oh no, we do have the top one. Oh, thank God. Well, sort of. That's mostly the bottom one working. But the top one, not so much. Amazing. Guess I might have to actually hook into the amp through this, the output of this, just so I can hear if we've actually got audio going through the thing. That'll give me probably something I should have done in the first place, just so I know. Well, I wasn't expecting this much trouble, but that channel isn't doing anything at the moment. It's not even going through the tape deck, which is odd. It's definitely putting out audio together. Yeah. Both those pots are maximum record level. I'm getting nothing on that channel. Yep, the other one seems to be working solidly now, even with that switch. What did that switch do? Just give that switch a squirt. Get that out of my mind. Yeah, it's time for the oscilloscope. Try and compare some levels again. Oh, that's one of them. If that's the other one, there ain't nothing. Which is about what we're getting. So that came through what these resistors here, 47Ks. perfect down there. Can't tell me it's those mic sockets. Back to these trim pots. That's a new one. Because of course if it is the faulty chip, it will take the channel down, but why was it flicking back up occasionally? It's not doing anything now. I found there's meant to be something on pin 4 or something. There's a heap on pin 3. And it's looking bad, like the chip's bad again. So maybe I'll put the bad chip in. And then pin 5, 6, and a heap on 7. Oh, that's got something. 5, 6, and not much at all. So I suspect we've got the faulty chip in there. Yeah, it did for a few moments actually work. Yeah, so we're both good chips in there. We have 2 channels. We should be able to vary that with the record level, no problem. Right up into distortion. So basically this thing can be put back together. But the only other thing I'd like to do is I guess make it so I don't have to press play record and don't have to have the motor running if I'm going to just run it as a VU meter. Now interestingly, even pressing play did something. So what is that doing? If I leave the record switch off, just press the record switch, we don't get any VU meters. If we hit either play or record, play record, and it's not that switch that's floating in the air. So there must be another thing being switched here somewhere, just to make it difficult. So I need to, so maybe I don't even need to press the play record switch. Well, that's an idea. No, I guess we press, no, we need, if we press play without it, nothing, press the record switch, we get VUs. So we need both those combos. So there must be a voltage. Did I ever find a circuit for this thing? I can't remember. There must be a voltage coming from that deck. There's a switch down the front there, maybe that's it. Oh yeah, I can see a little, when the heads lift up, there's a little leaf switch down under the front to the left of the erase switch. I reckon that's the one. Comes up a couple of white and blue wire, which comes up and goes across here somewhere. Ah, it's a mute switch. That could explain a lot. So it's normally open, is it? I would guess so. So I would guess, well, let's just check this, I guess, that it's open circuit, but it's not. Oh, it actually goes open circuit after all. So if I disconnect that wire, they're only wire wrap wires. Can't get that to unwrap, yeah. Oops, it broke. Same difference. Yeah, press the play record switch and there's a slight delay, but it then comes up with that mute wire disconnected. So if I mechanically hold that in place, it's even got like a nice little hole here where I could put a screw in and just screw this slide bar to the chassis. But I guess before we do that, we might as well give this deck an actual run and see what it actually runs like. I think I could put everything else back together now. All these hundreds of bits we've got here. And at that other chip there, do the old crunch the pins up on it, flatten them out so it never gets used again, tuck them underneath the chip. And we know it's a dead one. Its legs have curled up and died. Now the fun bit's going to be remembering where all these bits and pieces went. I guess I can start screwing. Can I screw the board back in? I think I could take this front off, did I? I think I did. I must have, because I've got nuts and switches and stuff off. But I think the board itself can go back in. Oops, that screwdriver's lost its magnetism. Better rub that over a magnet. And one of those I think was for the switch. Are there any shorter ones? Nope. That was in the back panel, that's right. Oops. Get the switch on the right side of things. Yeah, I would have thought something like this switch was the mute switch, but does that sit the same way there? But it'd be good to get all these parts back in this thing. And I've put one on under there. Oh, that's what I had to, because otherwise you risk the front panel coming off when you grab hold of the things. That's why I put that screw there. Straighten out the camera. And I've got some other little basic screws to go back. And there's one on that little bracket onto the board, onto the chassis. One there, one down the front. Can't believe I haven't got a magnetic screwdriver. That one should have been magnetic once upon a time. Here's the big long one. And there should be another one down the front as I think that's it for circuit board screws. Yeah, the other ones are held by the switches, I think. Got some little metal threads down the front here to hold these toggle switch things in place. If I can get them to line up with the hole. That one should be right. This other one's a bit picky. Just a tad out, as is often the case. Sometimes you just got to push into the side a bit to get the screw started. Yeah, just a matter of tightening all the sockets and switches and stuff back up. Might get rid of a bit of the dust out of here too as I go, because these switches and stuff are rather dusty and the display's got a bit around it. So we'll give everything a clean. That doesn't go on that, but oh, that was the headphone socket I think. Great big nuts. Got two big nuts there. That's the little one for the pot, I think. Yeah. Is there a third switch for the headphone socket? I'm missing one, I think. Third nut for it, I'll say. Tighten that up. I had a feeling one of these had a clip or something on it. Either that or I've lost one of them. I might have to go back and look at the old video, but I get a feeling I did see a nut lying around somewhere. Unless it just didn't have one, but I reckon it would have. Not that it probably matters much now, but this switch went somewhere through here. I can see it on the board there. It's probably only one way around it's going to go. Is it that way? Must be. And another, oh yeah, these are for the toggle type switches. Microphone level, does that just fit through the front? It does, so we've got to set that to minimum position. All these things are pretty dirty and horrible, so we'll give them a clean. Including the counter, reset button. Some of these switches, I don't know if they will, but sometimes you can put them upside down because they're often pulled right off. Often got the grotty side up. It's a little bit of corrosion and stuff. Take that back off a second. Sometimes they only go one way. That should go either way, I think. So sometimes if the side that's been up is bad, you just flip them over so that the bad bit is facing down where you're never going to really see it. Yeah, that's not coming off, is it? Yeah, that one's kind of eaten into it, I think. Yeah, that's the other side's mint. That one's kind of bad, both sides, if I can get that little bit of dirt off it. Yeah, definitely better that side though. It's corroded all over the place because it's got a metallic coating on it. You can actually see a little bit of verdigris and stuff growing on it because it's usually chrome or something, or a mix of chrome and other metals. And I'll also get the buttons on the tape there to clean up this. They're a little bit the same. Slightly corroded. A very light polish might fix them. I wonder if I should take a chance and do that. Heads are filthy. Lots of dust in the actual deck, which I'm not surprising given it's open to the world at the moment. With no door. It's got a bit browny. And these are the same, there's quite a bit of little spots of corrosion on it, which always ruins these things if they're like that. Oh, what am I doing? I'm putting some sort of marking on there. What the hell is coming off that? That's not what I need. Well, this has been, a bit slower than it should have been. Just to get a VU meter going. Now, where did I put that polish? Let's put a small amount of polish on a cotton bud and just take a chance of this. And often they will remove that corrosion, but if it's really thin metal you may actually wear right through it. So you've got to be a bit careful. I mean, this thing to me doesn't matter too much, so I'm happy to take a risk on it because it doesn't have a door anyway, so it's not like I can sell the thing or anything. And it only cost me $7 or something, so not the end of the world. But yeah, seems to be cleaning that up quite nicely. You need something a little harsher than just the metho water I was using to clean it. That actually will get that back to nice shiny metal. And even on the end there's little marks and stuff. It's amazing how good that can get them back almost like new again, just with the lightest little polish, just to cut that muck off the surface. But like I say, some things you'll find it's actually eaten right through. Cutting it off can make it look a bit better, but it's not going to get it back to mint condition. but anything's better than really grotty, corroded stuff. And same with this, it should probably take that greeny stuff off there with a bit of luck. But I can still see some pitting, and that's often the case. You can get rid of some, but not all. But yeah, this is a worthwhile improvement. Definitely, that is got definite green corrosion growing on it. That end is green as. Just get a bit more polish on here. And just be careful anything like that little orange indicator, because that will take the paint off that, the polish wheel. It's not mint, but I tell you what, it's a lot cleaner than it was. So I have this thing sitting around. I don't want it looking too old and nasty. Even if the tape deck doesn't need to be functional. Looks like these can actually go on. How does that work? I'm going to put the front back on before I do that. But it can go on without the front. Yeah, there's got actual damage to the front. It's a bit risky trying to repair the damage, but I might as well try and take a little bit of the edge off it. Yeah, it's been knocked on something. So I guess those knobs both point to 0, do they? It's got a 0 marking, which would be about there. And at the front, let's see what that's like. Yeah, I better clean the inside out of the VU bit. I guess there's plenty of dust in there. I'll wipe that off in a minute. It's a lot of it still sticking there. There's actual scratches and stuff on this. Big mark on the front there. And the whole thing could do with a clean bit of dust, some scratches on the VU display, unfortunately. That's a bit better. Still some dust. Where is that dust? This must have a layer of like a diffuser thing, I think, and then another layer on the outside by the look of it. That's definitely got dust in there. Now we can actually pop this off by the look of it. I'll just get that actual VU clean too. I'm not going to do the buttons, wasn't I, on the tape deck? So it's got those little pop out plastic things by the look of it. Where do they go? Can't see. I don't know if that's going to work. Or maybe those bits. Oh shit, that breaks. That breaks. Typical of something this age. Oh, and then it pulls out. Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. It's quite typical of these things. They sort of fold back up. Might be able to melt them back in place a little bit, enough to hold it, but usually the case with this old stuff, something will break on it, but that still doesn't get me where I want to go anyway. Looks like I'm going to have to prise, if I want to get in there, prise this bit out, which is probably glued down, and then you risk, yeah, it's, oh, yep, she's peeling. Usually just a little strip of double-sided tape. Careful, careful, careful. Yeah, there's dust on the back of both bits by the look of it. So there was no actual advantage in taking it off the front. I guess I might as well get the dust out from under here while I'm at it, because otherwise it's only going to end up back in there. Not sure whether this double-sided tape's going to work again, but sometimes it'll stick it back in. Come on, does not want to dry. It'll probably just break again, but at least if I melt that a little bit, it might just hold enough. At least it won't fall off. I can still see dirt in there. Sticks on the static and stuff, and you just can't get rid of it. Lovely. This is still wet. Will you dry, please? No, it's not going to stick itself, I don't think. Especially not while it's wet. No, that's just going to fall off by the look of it. Where does it sit? Yeah, it's no good. Let's put a little dab of araldite or something on there. Just put a tiny bit so that could be peeled off again if need be. It'll just join those two bits of double-sided stuff together. So it should just tear off if necessary. Make sure we get this the right way around. That's the bottom. And I think we're pretty clean. So that clips under there. Those little pins have to go in those little holes. Hopefully they just clip back in enough. Might just give these buttons a quick bit of polishing, just so they don't look absolutely horrible, which they currently do. I really don't like this equipment looking all old and grotty. Not something you really want to have in your house if it looks that bad. Doesn't matter if it's out in the shed or something, but power switch could probably do with a clean. Wipe all the polish back off. And that, yeah, definitely looks a heap better. Instead of having all like little corrosion patches on it. Because this doesn't have a door, I might even clean that other bit. Did they come through? Oh, they did come through holes in the front. That's not so bad then. You won't see that so much, but still. That's definitely looking neater than it was. pushing the damn front off where it's those clips are gone. I think that's actually bent. That's the problem with these old things, there's always something wrong with them. Turn that slightly back. No, I've gone too far the other way, I think. That's it. Certainly a beaten up old tape deck. Thankfully those pins should hold that in alright. And we want to screw the bottom back on. Oh, we had these weird metal bits that were loose off the top, I think. Now we've got the back cover still to go, which is 1, 2, that's like 5 screws, that's not good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I think with the washers. And I think we're short a few screws. Oh, actually I think I found this one that was meant to be for that switch, might have been that metal thread that I've got there. Yeah, somewhere along the line we've come up a few short. Although if we've got too many cover screws. Oh, that's meant to look a bit odd with that big piece on it, but I guess that's how it went. Yeah, shame about the damage, and that bit's still a little bit off. I probably won't see that anyway. Get all my fingerprints off everything. Yeah, it's not really till you clean them up that you realise just how bad a lot of these things are. Unfortunately, most of them had a pretty rough life. And I think what I've done here is put the wrong screw in the switch. That should have been that metal thread one. That would make more sense. And then we can put one of these on. There's only 2 for the top of the front anyway. I'll just bung a couple of them in for now. Ah, yeah, that's it. Well, they had this deck, those metal things, they were rattling around in one of them. I think that has something to do with the front panel, but anyway, I'm not going to worry about those. Oh, we haven't got a... Oh, yes, we do have a signal. Is that CD player is probably skipping and carrying on. What was that noise? Oh, we've got to hit record anyway because we've got to push that switch across. Okay, we've got a record light up here. And there's our levels. Dolby can be on or off. Doesn't matter what type of tape. That doesn't show anything. But here we have a nice VU meter there. And it'll dance away quite nicely if I can get the reflection off it. I think it's got, yeah, it doesn't have any red bits, which is a bit annoying. It was always nice when they had the red in the upper bits. But still, it's a fluorescent display, it's a fluorescent display. Shame there's a big scratch on the thing there, but... Oh. Keep hitting the wrong button. I always think the stock of deck's over this side. So let's see if this thing plays a tape, I guess. I think the deck functions are all working besides the one channel. It sounds better with the filter off. So it looks like I've got filter off on Dolby. So Dolby off and on, but also the filter completely off. You can hear the highs get better when you get rid of that. And I could actually try recording something on it, I guess. do have to get off my bum and make some decent test tapes. It doesn't have an auto stop, there's a weird little mech. No, it doesn't seem to do anything. We've got no auto stop at all, I don't think, on that. Let's go to the other side. Press play. Does this little mech here do something? Oh, it's stopped, but the deck hasn't. Well, you're not much good, are you? That's going to record. Dropped through a little bit, but that's probably just the tape. I of course do not condone stealing people's music like that, since that's technically breaching copyright. I'd say the beginning of the tape's a bit rubbishy on that side. Let's try the other side, but that seems to record fine. So it's probably a good working deck again. Just being careful of those 240 volt things there. I might just, oh, that's the point, I can't put the back cover back on until I pull the power cord out. That was a waste of time then. Yeah, we don't seem to have any sort of working auto stop here. Now that could be because we've got a belt just pulling the motor to a stop. That's not good. Jeez. So the belt's alright, isn't it? Surely this, I thought this little mechanism here was the auto stop. Ah, something slipped. What does this do? That's timer. That's to do with the timer. Maybe. Yeah, not a very good design if they don't have auto stop on them, but I think that's why that mute switch is meant to be operating, because it does make a bit of a crunch sound. Doesn't mean it records pretty well, just on a standard tape. Definitely lost a bit of its high frequency though. But back in the day, compared to paying $30 for a CD or something, you'd definitely be happier to copy one off someone. But yeah, certainly not up there with digital sound quality. Some people seem to insist that tape sounds better. Maybe if you just don't like high frequency sounds, I guess. I can understand someone who doesn't like high frequency thinking CD or something sounds harsh. But I don't see it. I like a good bit of high frequency. More the better really, probably because my ears aren't always the best at picking it up. So I guess if you've got really good high frequency sensitivity, you probably don't want to hear too much of it. So, you know, one man's hi-fi is another's lo-fi, I guess. It's pretty subjective. I'll just try a couple of these other tapes because I might have got stooged on these. I bought them second hand recently and they didn't sound very good in a boombox I put them in. Yeah, it does sound a little off. Sounds a bit off on the high frequencies. Whereas this Lumina Rock tape sounded quite good. That's a bit better. Yeah, I think that's lacking a bit in the high end. One thing I was going to check, they've still got the little felt pad under there. That can cause issues. And the other one was Brian Adams here, didn't sound too good either. But that can be the problem with tapes. They'll be a bit random in different decks. Seems to start out alright and then high frequency doesn't work too well. Yeah, a bit of adjustment of the azimuth has certainly improved it. So maybe it was just out on this one. That's much better. Okay, well I made a little door up for it. Just a piece of Perspex. And I just put a piece of duct tape on the front of it and then sprayed over it. Not perfect, but it'll do the job I want. I think of that just on there. Doesn't quite match the other silver colour. It's just the only can of silver paint I had. Whereas this is a little bit more on the champagne-y golden end of things. I think just with a door like that on there. And I've still got to sort out actually locking this into the record mode so that we've actually got a thing there. Now the other thing I was going to check, which it looks like it is, that's actually lit up. Yeah, the lights lit up in here even without pressing play. So it doesn't look like I need to have the motor running or anything. I wasn't sure if it had to be in play mode or not, but I think I'll do something to disable that motor so it doesn't run. And I think my dodgy little door cover, I'll just put a couple of dobs of like contact adhesive, something that should come off, something that doesn't stick to plastic real well, but will hold it there, so that I can just take that off again later if I want to. It probably would almost do as a door, but at least this thing, it does seem to run quite well now. It's sounding quite good after I adjusted the azimuth a little bit. I haven't even cleaned the tape path in it, which I guess probably wouldn't hurt to do. And then I've finally got around to making a couple of test tapes using this thing to record, because it actually records pretty well. If you get it off CD, it actually does a pretty close approximation of the original, but minus a bit of the high frequency. But it seems to work rather well, this deck. Better than I was expecting, and no wow or anything. I mean, some of these old tapes seem to have a few dropouts and stuff, but from what I've heard of it, the motor's still rock steady in this thing, even though it's just a standard Matsushita or Mabuchi or whatever it was. That do seem to be dead in a lot of tape decks these days, so it's doing well for such an oldie. I'll listen to something I recorded on here. Probably need to turn the amp back on. Very beginning of the tape's not always the best bit to listen to, but yeah, that's quite good quality. Of course it goes to a quiet bit. And that is one of the issues. Sometimes these tapes are a bit iffy, to say the least. But yeah, that's actually recorded pretty well. This deck actually does work pretty good. highs are pretty good on it, and like I say, it doesn't seem to be any wow in it, which is pretty good. So I think what I'll do, I shouldn't have put the cover back on it, is lock that record bar in the record position and see if I can disable the motor from running. I've already disabled that mute switch that was required for the meters to operate, so I don't need to do any more there. But yeah, this has been a good deck for doing finally these old tapes I've got lying around the place. I've recorded some stuff on them, so I know the music on them, know that it was recorded well. Doesn't mean there aren't some dropouts and stuff on those tapes, bad patches or something, but at least I know the good bits are good, and I can recognise the music enough to know if it's out of speed or anything, if it's running at the wrong speed, which is always something you want on your test tapes. So I was thinking of putting a screw or something down where that hole already is in the bottom there, where the lever goes through. I mean, what have we got? There's actually a strange mechanism there. I wonder if that's what's slowing everything down. Ah, yeah, that is some sort of greasy thing there. I better be careful here, it powers off. But I'm wondering if a screw won't just go into that. Do I have any super short ones? I used to have some. Hey, some of these flathead things should be pretty short. Let's just hope they actually fit. It's a bit like it might tap itself into that hole. Ooh, looks like it's going to. Ah, what a bonus. So one thing on this deck was easy at least. So that's it. I'll turn this on. So there we have it. We've basically got a deck that just sits there in record mode with the VUs going. Surprisingly the record light isn't on. I would have thought that'd be on. So that must be another thing that's activated mechanically. We've got actually the light here on, which I thought might be a good feature. I'll turn that off. It looks like the motor always runs. So I can just unsolder one of the wires off the motor, I guess, and I'll do the negative one because chances are if it touches anything, the thing that it touches will be at ground potential, but I could put a bit of insulation on that, but I think that's a stiff wire, so that's not going anywhere. So yeah, now we've got a perfectly quiet deck. VU meters are operating, doesn't matter where those switches are, just wherever they look good, I guess. Still needs a little bit of a clean here and there, I think. Never seem to be able to get it 100%. Unless I'll put a bit more muck on there, but no, there's definitely something on there that's been there for a while. Get it out of the way before I glue the door on. Yeah, it's certainly a bit knocked around, some scratches and stuff on it, so it's far from a mint deck, but I must say electrically it's working rather well. And mechanically as well, of course, because the two work together. It's a bit dirty under the buttons as well. But yeah, it was never going to be a mint one, but it does run well. If you could get another case and a door and bits and pieces for this, you'd have a very nice tape deck, basically. Certainly one of the best ones I've heard in a long time. Because it's actually got a decent motor in it. It runs at the right speed, no wow. And I mean, there's certainly no sign of any wear on the head. They were meant to be those, some sort of better quality Akai heads. I've still prefer to listen to MP3 even rather than tape. And the problem with tape is you've got all the accessibility issues and stuff. Like you can't just skip tracks and any of that sort of thing. Not that you necessarily want to. If you wanted to make up all your own sort of mixtapes and stuff, it wouldn't be a big issue, I guess, but still there's time. And then you've got the other issue of it stops at the end of one side and that, whereas music on your computer you can just play it for as long as you've got however many days worth of music you got or whatever. You can just keep letting it run. Again, not that you do it very often, but I think that'll look half decent with just something there. I probably should have blocked a little bit more of the hole off, but I thought it kind of looks cool seeing a bit of the insides of the deck there. And there should be some contact glue here somewhere. Yeah, some quick grip, which I bought for another job I never got around to using. So I'll just put I'm just going to glue it to, I can even put it on the door, I guess, a small blob and another small blob. Might even be too much because it's going to spread out when I put something on it. I don't know if I can clean that up a bit. That blob I don't like. I can probably spread it out a little bit to start with so it's over a larger area. I think that'll come off again if it needs to. Probably made that door a little big, but how long does this take to dry? I think you meant to let it go off a bit. Showing surface, keep surfaces apart until adhesive is dry, about 15 minutes. Yeah, that's, you normally meant to let them dry before you put them together, but I can't be bothered trying to remember 15 minutes into the future because I'll probably forget it. And I just noticed this button's got a bit of a break in it. Something's hit that sideways and damaged it. So just another issue, but I think this thing's all going now. Do we still have sound coming in? Oh, there we are. Must have bumped the control. So that'll do just as a display piece for me. And yeah, it's quite impressive that it's working so well for something so old. Anyway, thanks for watching.